Hello my gorgeous little spooky babes out there, and welcome. In today's video I'm going to be ranking all of my Nomad palettes. It's been a while since I've done a ranking for one brand, and I have a lot here and I want to talk about them, give you all my thoughts. But before we get into this video, if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Brie and I am just a crazy lover of all things beauty, and I like to post a lot of fun colorful makeup content. I like to do a lot of indie makeup, so if that is what you're into, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. But with that being said, let's get into this video. All right, my loves, I'm excited to get into this ranking. It's one of my favorite videos to do. It's a pretty popular kind of video on my channel, and I love watching other YouTubers do this as well. And I like just seeing like what people think about one brand, like what are their favorites, what are their least favorites. I feel like it really gives you a lot of information, especially if you're like wanting to try out palettes from them. Now, I have done this before with Unearthly, Glamlight, Melt, and Udin's Eye, so I was like, you know what, let's do Nomad since I have a lot of palettes from them, and I've been wanting to do a ranking with my Nomad palettes for a while, but they keep coming out with eyeshadow palettes, and I'm like, guys, stop, give me a break. You keep coming out with so much, and I just can't say no to their palettes. Like, I pick up every one, so I was like, okay, there's finally a break. Hopefully they don't have another one about to like launch today, because you never know with Nomad. But if you don't know about them, they are a indie brand. They're based out of the US, and all of their products are based on travel. So locations, destination, they go to these places, do like photo shoots. They usually do some kind of charity that supports that area, and they try to embody that whole area into a palette with the color story, the names, and everything. And I love that because I am a big traveler. I try to travel as much as I can, so I think this theming just really matches something that I'm very interested in. And they also teach you about the places. They give you history, info, so I also think that is really cool. Now, I'll preface this before we get into it. If I happen to put like a palette you love from Nomad low, or one that you hate high up, please don't take it personal. This is based on my personal preference. It could be based on color story, versatility, maybe it could be a quality thing, various things like that, but I will go over all of that as I go through the ranking. So I think we should just dive right in. So at the bottom of the ranking, which I did mention this palette in a would I repurchase video, and I said I wouldn't, and I was actually planning to declutter this, but this is the Nomad Berlin Underground palette. It's a little more grungy, a little bit more cool tone. I think it's pretty. Like, overall, I like the color story. It is, you know, really different. You know, you don't see a lot of color stories like this, and I feel like this would be perfect for the fall time. And I played with it a lot when I first got it, but as my makeup preferences has changed, I do not feel like these meet them anymore. The metallics in here are very satin leaning, and satins are just not my preference. I like super foiled, sparkly, high shine metallics, and these are all pretty much satins. And then the mattes in here are a little bit more on the sheer side. You have to really build them up, and I do feel like Nomad has improved their formula, especially in their newer palettes. Like, there's more pigment to them. You don't have to layer it up as much as you had to with their older palettes. So I do feel like overall this just doesn't meet what I prefer when it comes to eyeshadow formula, but I still enjoyed it, and I don't even think you can get this anymore. I think they did discontinue it. So then the next palette in the ranking is the Nomad Cartagena Magica palette. This palette is a little bit too same. It is a very monochromatic palette, and it leans very light, and I prefer depth. I like smoky shades. I like a lot of color options, and I feel like on the outer packaging, it doesn't really represent what's inside. You will see it's super light. Like, overall, it's just mid-tones to light shades. There's nothing where I can really deepen up the look, so I often have to pull other palettes when I use this, and I just feel like there's a lot of shades that look super similar. Like, once you put them on the eyes, they pretty much blend on the eyes looking like the same color. So there's not enough variety to me. There's not enough depth in here. And I just wish it had maybe some greens that are out here, some blues, something like that. But I know that this was their take on a more monochromatic palette. It just didn't fit my aesthetic perfectly, but the formula is really pretty in here. Then the next palette that's at the lower end of the ranking is the Nomad Orient Express palette. This came out during the holidays, maybe 2 or 3 holidays ago. Has beautiful velvet packaging. I think it's really pretty. And I thought the theming was really cool. It's themed after this train that's still in existence that has like the 20 vibes in it. But this is a very neutral palette with a few pops. I mean, you see like there's some blue in here, a little bit of green, but overall if you cover those, it's pretty neutral. They do have some shades that I feel look too close to each other, like this one right here, this one right here, and I do feel like the mattes were not as pigmented as I prefer. You do have to build these up a lot. I do really like this Venice shade, which has like a gold to green shift to it. It's really, really pretty. This pink one too is nice, but I think it just leans a little too neutral for me, and there's too many shades that felt like they were a little too similar, but I do appreciate the little pops. Like those are nice, but there's more colorful palettes that I'm going to show you that I prefer over this one, but it was still really pretty. Still enjoyed it. There's like no palette in here that I like strongly dislike. Then the next palette in the ranking is the Nomad Home for the Holidays, which I think came out a few holidays ago, but this is a 9-pan palette. It's really cute. Like the Home for the Holidays was such a cute theme. And then this has pretty much all metallics except for one matte black. But the metallics in here are super sparkly and foiled and super pretty. The only thing that makes this ranked lower is because I do have to pull in other palettes. I like to mix metallics with matte, so this is more of a companion palette, and I do feel like I like the options and the versatility of the other palettes more than I'm about to show you. But don't get me wrong, the formula in here is really pretty, and I love these metallics, and I definitely need to play with this more now that I look at it and just remind myself about how pretty these shades are. They're good. It's not a complete versatile palette for me just because it's all shimmers. Then the next palette in the ranking, which is one of their newer ones too. I think this came out this year, but this is the Paradise Island palette. I do love this, like the theme and everything. It makes me think of home, makes me think of the islands, so it makes me happy looking at it. And it's a very colorful, you know, typical tropical color story palette. But the only problem with this one is there's not enough depth in here, and I know I say that a lot, but these are mainly mid-tones to lighter shades, and the 2 shades that are a little deeper in here are still on the mid-tone, and they just don't get deep enough. And since these are more buildable shades, I don't feel like they ever truly get to that tone that it looks in the pan. So that was the only thing. I just wish that there was more of a range in here. I just feel like overall it's mainly mid-tones, and that is just not what I prefer for my palettes. Hello, it is Future Bree. I was getting ready for work and putting my video together and realized I forgot to include a palette in this ranking, so I'm gonna do it now. This is the Nomad Tokyo palette. This is their version of a pastel palette, and it's so pretty. Look at that color story. Look at the packaging. It's so freaking cute. And they did include one deeper shade if you wanted to add some depth, but I really love these shimmers down here. I think that's what makes it higher up in the ranking, because these shimmers down here, they're shifty, they're sparkly. I think they're all dual chromes, and I just love using them on the lids. They have beautiful shifts to them. And I went into this palette knowing that it was going to be light because it's a pastel palette, so that was my expectation. So I don't have an issue that it doesn't have a lot of dark shades because it's not supposed to. And even with that, they still included a deeper shade in here. And the mattes feel buttery, but all their mattes feel very buttery. Now I do feel like they've improved their matte formula since this palette, so I would love to see a like updated all pastel palette from them. That would be really cool. Now I know the Verde de Provence one has some pastels in it, but like an all pastel palette like this again would be so cool, because this is really pretty. So that's why it's like mid-range in the ranking, but just wanted to make sure I included this. But let's get back to Past Me. Then the next one, which is also a new one that released this year, this is the Nomad Verde de Provence palette. It's really pretty. It's super springy. The packaging is so cute, and it definitely matches what is inside. I love this, like the monochromatic rose. It's so fun. It makes me happy when I look at it. Now, overall, it leans on the lighter side too. There's only really this shade to deepen up the look, and then everything else is mid-tone. I do also feel like some of the shades were just not light enough to truly be an inner corner highlight in this one. Like, I could use these, but I didn't feel like they were truly bright enough to make my inner corner pop. And then this matte right here, which I wish was more pigmented, would have made a beautiful inner corner highlight, but it's a little just too sheer to really show up enough. Like, I've tried to use this as an inner corner highlight, and I feel like it was never light enough or pigmented enough for my liking, but I still think it is pretty and nice and springy. And once the spring comes back around, I see myself using this more, because I do think overall the formula was nice in here. Now going on to a palette I think came out last year or maybe the year before, but this is the Nomad America's Parks palette. So cute. And I think this is a very good, like, cohesive color story. I feel like I could do completed looks with this. Now, I could use a little bit more lighter shimmers. I just like a mix, guys. I like there to be lighter shimmers, lighter mattes, mid-tones, depth, darker shimmers, mid-tone shimmers. Like, I like to have it all, okay? Okay, I want it all, but it is still really pretty. Like, look at that. Look at that. You could do purple looks, green looks. You could do something a little bit more neutral, a little bit warm tone. So I feel like I have a lot of options in here, and I do think the shimmers are nice and smooth and creamy as well. So this overall is a very pretty palette. That's why it's like kind of right in the middle. Then the next palette in the ranking, which is their newest palette and the newest one to my collection, it is the Hudson Valley palette. And this is the perfect fall palette, guys. I love it. It's so, so pretty. The theme and everything. And this color story is gorgeous. I did do a video on this where I created a look. I did also do a look on Instagram, and I loved how they turned out. And I do feel like the matte formula has been amped up on this. There's more pigment to it. I feel like they just build so well. It has a good amount of deep shades in here. It has just a good range. I like the breakup of the warm tones, and then you have these beautiful, like, cool tone greens, which I don't have a lot of those kind of shades in my collection. Then these beautiful, like, smooth shimmers. They're not necessarily my most favorite shimmer. They're, like, not super sparkly, but they're still really nice and smooth. I think what I really love is the mattes, and typically I love the shimmers more from Nomad, not the mattes, but in this case it's the mattes that I thought really stood out in this palette. So I'm actually really impressed with this, and I think it's really good. That's why it's more towards the top, but you'll see the trend on the next few palettes here. But this is gorgeous. If you're eyeing this out, you want a perfect fall palette, that is a good one. Then the next one, which I think, did it come out last year? But this is the, what is this? The Iceland Fire and Ice palette. This has a good range to it. It's really pretty. It has some really shifty, gorgeous metallics in here too, but it has like this deeper shade right here. It has this beautiful blue, and it has these beautiful cool tone shimmers. And I think I gravitate to cool tones more than warm tones. So the fact that this leans more cool tone totally vibes with me. It has this one row of warm, but I do really focus more on like these purple tones, these blue tones, this like dark cool tone brown is so pretty. This one too right here called Gallows Lava is so gorgeous. It's like a deep olive metallic, and it has all these little sparkles in here. So I really, really love the metallic formula in here as well. So this is a winner, and I still think this is available. Then the next palette, which has also come out this year, is the Monte Verde Cloud Forest palette. This is so fun and bright and colorful, and I prefer this one over like the Paradise Island palette because this one has more depth in it. It has more range, and it has these shades that almost lean neon-y. They're just so bright, like this yellow right here, this green right here. Then it has like these beautiful green tones in here, and greens are my favorite colors to wear on my eyes. So to have a heavily green palette, I love it so much. This deeper green is gorgeous. This one right here, it's like a gray cool tone, kind of grungy olive. I'm probably describing that so weird. This one too, Green Mountain, is so pretty. I'll have to show you guys. They're just so sparkly. Like, they have these little sparkle specks all throughout them. Look at those beautiful greens. They're gorgeous. And these bright mattes are just so pretty. Formula is really, really nice in here. And I think that this is my preferred colorful rainbow kind of color story. So they did so well with this. Then the next palette, which I think they might be discontinuing this. I saw that it was on sale on their website and they were saying like last stock or something. But this is the Haunted Europe palette. Packaging A1. Like the holographic lady that switches from like a cloak lady. Oh, it's so cool. So this was obviously inspired by haunted places in Europe. But I'll show you guys up close. And then inside here, it has such a beautiful range. It has my depth. It has darker metallics, mid-tone metallics, and then it has these beautiful lighter ones. Like this light green one right here called Highgate Cemetery is so pretty. It's such a pretty, like, kind of iridescent green. Then it has, like, these beautiful, like, deeper, like, jewel tone metallics that have so much sparkle in them. And I also like that you can do something a little bit more neutral if you want to. You can go a little warm or a little cool tone. So I also think that this is a very versatile color story and there's a lot of options. I'm so sad that they're planning to discontinue this one because I think the color story is bomb. Even this like chocolatey shade is so pretty. Like this very cool tone chocolatey charcoal. Stunning. So this is such a good one. Then the number one palette on the ranking, which I'm actually surprised that this ended up being number one. But when I was looking at all my palettes, this one sparked the most joy in me and got me the most excited. But this is the Nomad Whistler Snow Lodge palette. Isn't that so adorable? Perfect for going into the winter, like Christmas season. I probably will take this on my trip to Washington. I'm planning to go there in December. But this one, I think, to me, has the best color story, best range. It has some shifty shades in here. Like this one called Ski Bum has a like blue to pink shift. It is so pretty. And then this like minty kind of sage shade is also gorgeous. Oh, they're just so pretty and it has so much depth in here. Then it has a good amount of shades to lighten the inner corner. It has this also like shifty iridescent one that shifts from like white to pink. It also has like this beautiful champagne shade and then everything else, like, and then it's kind of set up in a way to make it easy for you. Like you can just do a beautiful green look right here. You have brown shades. Like I love this more chocolatey bronze shade that's down here. It's so pretty too. Like I love a deep chocolate metallic and you can pair it with these deep metallics. You even have a black in here and I always appreciate a matte black being in a palette because you can use that to make things even deeper. If it's just not deep enough and you want to go the next step, you can do that if you have a matte black in a palette. So this one makes me so happy. I see so many looks that I could create with this. Even this like burgundy, like reddy tones too are really pretty. And by far, I think this is my number one favorite. Like I've had the most fun playing with this and it's most my kind of color story in terms of what I like, in terms of depth, in terms of mid-tones, in terms of having inner corner highlights, cool tones, having some neutrals. Like it's just such a pretty setup. So gorgeous. I need to play with this more. So that was everything for this ranking. That was all of my Nomad palettes. I really thought this was fun to film. It helped remind me that I need to give these palettes some more love. And I really do like Nomad Cosmetics. They are such a cool brand. I love what they stand for, their theming. They give a lot back to the communities that they get inspiration from. They make really pretty, high quality products. And most of these rankings were just based on personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of these palettes. So if any of these intrigued you, I don't think you would be disappointed if you pick them up. So just know that these are all good. This was just mainly based on what I prefer when it comes to like makeup and makeup looks. But you guys will have to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Were you surprised by my ranking? Would you switch this up in different ways? Like What are your thoughts? I would love to hear from all of y'all. And if you're new here and you enjoy this video, you like a lot of fun, colorful makeup content, you like a lot of stuff in indie makeup, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. Also, don't forget to check out the description below. I will have all the palettes linked that are still available, and I will link any videos that I have done on any of these palettes. I'm pretty sure I've done a video on all of them, so there'll be a lot to choose from if you want to see like a review, swatches, looks with them, and more information. That will be there for you. I will also have my makeup linked. I did film this makeup look, which I usually mention in the beginning, but that video should already be up. I'll put it up in the corner. I'll link it below if you want to see how I put this together. I will also have my contact and my social media platforms. I'm also on Instagram as Breezy Lifestyle and Breezy_Beauty. So if you want to join my Instagram fam, I would really, really love that. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, for being here, supporting my channel, being amazing. I love you all so very much, and I just hope you all are doing well wherever you are in the world, and I'm just sending you all so much light and love. But until next time, bye guys.